Hello, welcome to the fourth and final module in this self-awareness series. We're going to wrap things up by looking at personal goal setting and being able to articulate what you want to achieve in the future. Sometimes it's difficult to focus our minds on a few realistic goals as we just want so much, and we want it all now. The key thing is to eliminate the distracting thoughts. There might be some things that we think we want to achieve personally or professionally, but actually, when we weigh everything up, they're not as important, and we might just have to have some faith that these things will start to materialise if we concentrate our efforts on the bigger goals. So, in order to set everything out, let's start by taking a holistic view of what is going on in our life today. Start by drawing a nice big circle on a piece of paper, and then divide it equally into 8 sections. Put a 0 somewhere near the middle of the circle, then a set of 10s around the outside. Each of those lines now represents a scale of 0 to 10. So now draw another circle that dissects each of the lines at approximately the halfway point, or where the 5 might be on that scale. Great, so that gives us the framework. Now we need to identify up to 8 important areas of our life that we can use to determine where the focus of our goals will be. Here you can see I've chosen 8 areas that are most common when doing this exercise, and in the main will cover most areas of our life. If you're happy that these 8 cover everything, then great. If not, take some time now to carefully think about any other areas you want to consider. And whilst doing it, remember 2 things. 1, you don't have to stick to 8, less or more is fine. What you'll see later on is that we'll narrow down to probably 3 or 4 areas that need the most attention, and these will then be broken down into tangible goals. 2, you might think that some of these things I've listed are already working well for you. It's important to include these though. As we go through this process, we might realise that focusing our attention on one area could inadvertently impact another, and so we have to be mindful of that. For example, I might want to focus my time on my work and career. The side effect of that could be that I find myself spending more time in the office, and so I pay less attention to my exercise and fitness, and maybe have less of a social life. So, give the sections a title, or use the ones I've listed here. Let's begin by assessing each of those areas in terms of how content and happy we are with them today. 0 in the middle represents us being entirely unhappy, and 10 on the outside represents us being extremely happy. Choose a colour pen, here I'm using red, and put a dot in each section at the appropriate point on the scale. Do this for all the areas you've described. Once you've done that, join all those dots together. This shape represents our circle of life as it stands today. Take a minute to review it and check you're happy with how you've scored each area. Now, for each of those areas, decide where on the scale of 0 to 10 you would like things to be in the future. Choose a different colour pen, here I'm using blue, and put a dot in each section at the appropriate point on the scale. Do this for all the areas you've described. Once you've done that, join all those dots together. This shape represents our circle of life as we would like it to be in the future. Take another minute to review it and check you're happy with how you scored each area. So, let's use this example I've built up to explore it a bit further. You can see that there are 3 areas that I'm currently really content and happy with, and in fact, I do not wish to change anything about them. And let me be clear, I do not want to change anything about them, i.e., I don't want them to be impacted when I start to focus some of my time and attention on other areas. Now we can clearly see 4 areas that I've said I want to be happier about in the future. Before we drill more into these, let me highlight the 8th area that I've scored. You can see that I'm willing to spend a bit less time worrying about nutrition and diet. I've accepted that it's quite draining, constantly watching what I eat, counting the nutrient values and so on. On the basis that I'm going to spend more time focusing on exercise and fitness, I know that I can be a bit more relaxed about what I'm eating, but not too relaxed, just a bit. So, back to the areas I want to focus on. You can see them here. Those of you with a keen eye will see that I've decided not to include wealth and finances. That's for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's only a minor change that I would like to see, so it's not necessarily as important to me as the other areas. And secondly, I'm going to have a bit of confidence and faith that if I successfully improve my work and career, feel happier about my emotions and have more self-esteem, then it's likely that my wealth and finances could improve as a result. Looking at your own circle of life that you now have, are you able to highlight a maximum of 3 or 4 areas where you want to see improvements? Ideally, these should be the areas where you've got the biggest gap between your today score and your future score. Do you remember in the first introduction video, I asked you to write down 3 things. The third one was one thing you want to achieve in the future. Looking back at what you wrote, does it match or look very similar to one of those 3 or 4 areas you have derived from your circle of life? If not, should it be added now? Or when you assess everything going on in your life, maybe it actually isn't as bad as you originally thought. So, you've now got some areas of your life that you want to achieve more of in the future. Let's turn these into some goals. Here are my 3 areas. Let's take the first one, exercise and fitness. I want to do more exercise and I want to be fitter. I'm a member of my local gym and I go, well, okay, I don't. The problem is I'm in the office all day and when I get home I'm spending time with my family. What are my options? Well, I could perhaps wake up just 15 minutes earlier in the morning and do some press-ups, some push-ups, maybe some squats. I could go for a 15-minute jog. And when I'm in the office, I could actually get up from my desk more often and walk to the water machine at the far end of the office to get some water. Oh, hang on, drinking more water. That will also benefit my nutrition and diet, won't it? Great. On the weekend, if the weather is nice, I could suggest to my family that we go for a walk together, and I could take the rugby ball to the park with my children. That feels like a good start. And in fact, by doing these extra things myself and with my family, I might as well just cancel my gym membership. So that also benefits my wealth and finances too. Do you see where this is going? So for that one area of my life I called exercise and fitness, and I have 3 pretty simple things I can do to start making some improvements. And what is my goal? Well, I'll start off by setting a goal of losing 10 pounds in weight within a month. Okay, now I'll move on to work and career. Let's say that I feel my job is getting a bit stale. I can't see the next step in my career, and I don't really know if I'm being rewarded properly for the job I do. If I look back to my network picture, I determined that I have a strong relationship with my coach. Well, I think I now need to leverage that relationship and seek some guidance from them, specifically in relation to how I can become more visible to some of the influential people at work. And you know what? I haven't been on any sort of training courses for such a long time. I don't even know what is out there or what my company has to offer me. I saw we had a learning and development intranet site, so I'm going to take a look and see if there are some workshops or computer-based training modules I can take that help me think about my career development. It's also been a long time since I looked outside of the company I work for and found similar jobs that I could apply for. I think a change of scenery might do me good. So for that second area of my life I call work and career, I now have some things I can action pretty quickly. And what is my goal related to work and career? I'm going to be brave on this one. I'm going to apply for at least one job in the next 2 months. I want to have spoken to my coach first before I do start searching and applying, so 2 months is more realistic. And finally, I'm going to look at emotions and self-esteem. Well, I'm always thinking the worst about how I'm performing and constantly think that other people think I could do things better. I've already decided that I'm going to ask for some feedback from the 3 people I listed in the earlier module, so I'll certainly take their feedback seriously, especially any praise and recognition they give me. I've noticed that I do have a bit of a short fuse at times, and I tend to snap at people for no good reason. I've heard someone talking about emotional intelligence, so I think I'll get onto Google and start searching more about it. There might be some interesting articles to read. And when was the last time I had a really good laugh? I love laughing. Life has become too serious. Perfect solution. I'm going to download some comedy podcasts that my team have been talking about and listen to them as I'm travelling home from work. And so there are a couple of actions to take for that third area I called emotions and self-esteem. In terms of a goal for this one feels a bit trickier. It feels harder to measure, but I have an idea. I could start making a note each day about the emotions I've been feeling that day. I could identify what triggered them and could write down how I dealt with them. So actually, I'm going to add that as a third action. Back to the goal then. Based on that last action I added, my goal will be to have experienced 50% less negative emotions about myself over the next 3 months. So there we go. I've got 3 key areas of my life I want to focus on. I've got a manageable set of realistic actions I can start putting into place immediately. And I've got 3 goals that will help me measure the difference these actions are going to make within at least a month's time. We're almost at the end of this video now. Once it's finished, for each of your areas of focus, identify some actions that you can start on pretty quickly and set yourself some goals that will show you are making a positive difference. If you would like to reuse the Circle of Life framework, the example template I used will be available for download. That brings us to the end of this module and the end of this video series looking at self-awareness. Across the videos, we have looked together at 4 things. Firstly, what we mean by self-awareness and how we can manage our emotions. Secondly, our network and who we need to build and strengthen relationships with to help us succeed. Thirdly, the importance of feedback, how we ask for it and what we actually ask for. And finally, assessing what is important to us and how we can take action and set goals towards a happier and more fulfilling future. Don't forget your free downloads, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.